Be warned, this video will contain spoilers. The Chicago Fire Season 13 finale delivers a wave of emotional, personal, and career-shifting revelations that fans definitely won't stop talking about anytime soon. The episode, titled "It Had to End This Way," doesn't just wrap up lingering tensions, it reshapes where Firehouse 51 is headed next season. One of the most gripping threads revolves around Severide and Chief Pascal, and how Severide manages to unravel a case that could have ended Pascal's career. Their dynamic had been rocky at first, but mutual respect slowly grew between them throughout the season, and that really comes to a head in this finale. Severide, drawing on his experience as an elite arson investigator, digs deep into who could actually be responsible for the attempted murder of Monica's killer. It turns out, his instincts were spot on, just not in the way he expected. Initially, Severide thought Pascal was being set up by a mob boss from his past. That theory made sense, given Pascal's complicated history in Miami. But when the dust settles, the answer is surprisingly more personal and more painful. Lieutenant Vale, who had formed an unreciprocated emotional attachment to Monica, turns out to be the one behind the attack. What's tragic here is that Vale's grief twisted into obsession, and Severide uncovers the truth just in time, thanks to both forensic details and a trail of texts Pascal had saved. The fallout of this revelation doesn't just clear Pascal, it bonds him and Severide tighter, giving Firehouse 51 a renewed sense of loyalty and respect among its leadership. It's a major payoff for a season-long arc that could have easily gone another way, and it sets up Severide's future as a true stabilizer in the Firehouse's ever-shifting hierarchy. At the same time, another long-anticipated development finally gets its emotional release: Carver's exit. Fans had been preparing themselves ever since it was announced Jake Lockett would be leaving after this season, but the show didn't give us a simple goodbye. Instead, we get a gut-wrenching moment when Violet gives Carver a letter she wrote earlier, an honest, raw confession of her feelings. But Carver's already decided to leave, choosing to prioritize his mental health and sobriety by starting over with the Denver Fire Department. He tells Violet that he has to choose himself first, and honestly, it's a tough but respectable decision. You can feel how much it hurts them both. But then, the show pulls a classic Chicago Fire move. Carver, unable to fully walk away, shows up at Violet's place. He doesn't just say goodbye. He kisses her and tells her he loves her. She responds the same way. That final moment between them is electric, romantic, and utterly unresolved. Will he really leave? Will he come back in a recurring role? The finale leaves it wide open, and given how showrunner Andrea Newman has stayed vague about Jake Lockett and Hanako Greensmith's status for Season 14, you can't rule anything out. And just when you think the emotional stakes couldn't get any higher, Chicago Fire hits us with a joyful, surprising twist: Stella Kidd is pregnant. After so many ups and downs on their path to parenthood, including a failed adoption and briefly taking in Natalie, this news feels earned. Kidd and Severide had tried to adopt earlier this season, only to be left heartbroken. Then they stepped up for Natalie, the teen whose family Kidd had saved years ago, but she ends up reuniting with her sister Julia, taking adoption off the table again. It's in that bittersweet aftermath that Kidd shows Severide the positive pregnancy test, and their stunned, joyful reaction is one of the most genuine moments of the whole finale. It's the perfect mix of realism and hope, a reminder that Chicago Fire doesn't just thrive on drama, it builds deeply human stories. What's next for Stellaride is wide open, but there's no doubt it'll be emotional, messy, and full of growth as they prepare to become parents. And as always, nothing in Chicago Fire comes easy. But this time, they're facing the unknown together, and that's something to hold on to. Let's hear your thoughts. Drop your predictions and reactions in the comments below. There's a lot to talk about going into Season 14.